Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome to another one of my videos where I take a look at all the new comic books coming out on either September 27th or 28th, 2022, and I ask myself the question, what one new comic book would I buy this week if I could buy just one book? Let's start off this video first by taking a look back at my pick from 2 weeks ago, which was A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, issue number 11. And the question remains, was it a worthy and worthwhile pick to be my just one book pick of the week? And the answer is yes. Yes, I actually read the comic book oh my gosh, the one that I have to talk about from 2 weeks ago. I actually read it. Can you believe it? It took a little bit of forced time to do it, but I actually read it and I really enjoyed it. The final issue of A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance was basically more of what the rest of the series promised and contained, which was dark, twisted, just sick, depraved, violent, just horrible, horrible stuff. And I loved it. I thought it was very entertaining. I thought it was a very interesting story. I'm glad I saw it all the way through to the end. It didn't end with like big fireworks, big explosions, big, event. It basically just kind of ended in a very, like I said, way that was in tune with the rest of the series, which is just kind of creepy and a bit of a slow burn and satisfying. So yes, I definitely enjoyed A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, and if it ever becomes collected in a full trade paperback, I recommend checking it out if you are not worried about having nightmares, because it might give you some nightmares. No, honestly, it's just a really good story, and I recommend it for everybody. All right, I need to move on and talk about the comic books that are coming out this week, because there are a stupid amount of comic books coming out this week. Usually I pull about 3 or 4 books on average, maybe 3 to 5 books on average. I am pulling 9 different books this week, 9 different titles. That's a lot for me, and I'm already behind on my books, and so I'm kind of sort of loving and dreading this week. In addition to the books that I'm pulling, there are some kind of cool new titles that are coming out this week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do things a little bit backwards this week. I'm going to start off with some honorable mentions, books that I am not pulling, and then I'm going to go through the 9 titles that I am pulling quickly. So let's go ahead and jump in first with the honorable mentions, the books that I am not pulling this week. The first one I want to mention to you is a new book called Flawed, issue number 1 of a 6-issue limited series from Image Comics. Here's the description. Bitterroot co-writer Chuck Brown and superstar artist Prenzy reunite for this ultra-violent, high-octane limited series that's Frasier meets the Punisher. Jem Ez is a psychiatrist in the Kafkaesque city of Setham, where corruption and brutality rule the streets. By day, she uses words to solve her patients' problems. By night, she takes a more direct and sometimes deadly approach. But when her practice puts her in the sights of an immortal serial killer, Jem finds herself embroiled in a power struggle that threatens everything she's ever known. I have to admit, this sounds like it could be a cool story. If I didn't have so many comic books coming out this week, I would pick this up and read this one. And in typical fashion, if I like it, pick up the entirety of the limited series, which is only 6 issues, or just dump it, file it away, and see if it becomes something someday. But it does sound interesting. And so if you're looking for something new to check out this week, you might consider checking out Flawed. Another one you might consider checking out this week is a new book called Old Dog, issue number 1 from Image Comics. Here's the description. Jack Lynch was a once promising CIA operative. On the eve of retirement, looking back at a failed career, he is tasked with one final mission that goes horribly wrong. He wakes years later to a changed world and deeper changes within him. When a shadow group offers Lynch a second chance at a life of adventure, he's paired with the last person he could ever imagine. In order to adjust, this old dog will have to learn some new tricks. Old Dog is a striking new spy-fi series by Declan Shalvey the accomplished and innovative creator behind books such as Moon Knight, X-Men Unlimited, Injection, and Time Before Time. The Winter Soldier meets Mission Impossible in this Bourne-esque action espionage blowout. Okay, I don't know if this will make a great comic book, but it sounds like it would make an awesome movie or television series, which is part of the reason that I flag it for you all today. It sounds like another pretty cool story. But once again, it'll be interesting to see how this story plays out in comic books. But there's spec potential there as far as I'm concerned. My spider sense is tingling on this one a little bit. So that's something just to kind of keep in mind. The next book I want to mention to you is a new book. It is called Onyx. It is a one-shot with a $10 price tag, just so you know that. This is from Image Comics. Here's the description. Lock and Key artist and co-creator Gabriel Rodriguez, colorist Jay Fotos, and writer Chris Ryall bring you the complete extra-length tale of a cyborg warrior who calls herself Onyx. Onyx arrives in a near-future Nigeria beset by overpopulation and food shortages, alongside another alien entity that corrupts all life forms in its presence. Is Onyx here to save the planet or, in its final throes, help hasten its destruction? Okay, I am a fan of sci-fi. I like sci-fi things. I think they can be very entertaining, and this is pushing my sci-fi button. This is definitely seems like it could be a cool sci-fi themed story worth checking out. It's a $10 book, so it's pricey, but it is a one-shot, so it's a one and done. So if you're interested in something like that this week, you might consider checking out Onyx. The next book I want to mention to you is a new book. It is called Briar, issue number 1 of a 4-issue limited series from Boom Studios. Here's the description. What if Sleeping Beauty never got her happily ever after and instead had to save herself? Set in a brutal fantasy world that time forgot, this isn't the fairy tale you know. Eisner Award nominated writer, producer, and director Christopher Cantwell and rising artist Herman Garcia reimagined the classic tale as an epic dark fantasy adventure. Okay, well, if you were interested in an epic dark fantasy adventure version of Sleeping Beauty, well, then you found the perfect book this week. Here it is right now. Briar. Sounds like it could be entertaining. I like the stuff that comes out of Boom Studio in general. They have some pretty cool stories, and this seems like it could be a cool fantasy, fairy tale, epic dark fantasy adventure, potentially worth checking out. And I believe this is my last honorable mention of books I'm not pulling, yes, is a new book. It is Tim Drake, Robin, issue number 1 from DC. Here's the description. Step aside, Damian. The world's favorite Robin has got this. That's right. After years away, Tim Drake is taking center stage in a brand spanking new Robin series of his very own. A mystery over a year in the making takes shape as a new villain who's been hounding Tim from afar decides to take things up close and personal, putting Bernard and everyone else Tim cares about in peril as things go from bad to worse for the world's oldest and canonically tallest Robin. No, I will not be fact-checking that. All that, and Tim finally carves out a corner of Gotham City just for himself and sets up shop in his very own Murder Shack boat. Fan favorite writer Megan Fitzmartin teams up with beloved Harley Quinn artist Riley Rossmo to define the next chapter in Tim's life. And as if that wasn't enough, break out your skateboards and motorcycles because we've assembled a murderer's row of artists to draw the 1990s One True Robin in his various looks from over the years. Okay, well, I like Batman, and I like Robin too. And there's been a lot of Robins over the years, and Tim Drake is one of them. Now, some including this description, would say that Tim Drake is the world's favorite Robin. I don't know that that's true. It's possibly true. I'm not going to argue. Maybe Tim Drake is your favorite Robin. If he is, you might want to consider picking this up. And if you could not care about Robin at all, you're not going to be interested at all. But because Batman is obviously a big deal, and Robin is a fun thing as well, especially for certain audiences. So I wanted to make sure to let you know that there's a brand new Robin series featuring Tim Drake coming out this week. Okay, so those are all my honorable mentions. Now I'm going to get into the books that I am buying this week. Everything else I'm talking about for the rest of today are books I will be picking up this week. The first one I want to mention to you, and I'm not going to read the descriptions of these. This video is going to be way too long if I do that. The first one I want to mention to you that I am pulling this week is Thor, issue number 27. I still really like Thor. I still really like Donny Cates. I'm still really interested in his Thor series and his Hulk series. I haven't read Vanish issue number 1 yet. We'll talk about that next week. But I like Donny Cates. Now, I've said this before. I'm less interested in Donny Cates now than I've probably ever been, but I still find his work entertaining. So I am going to stick with it. However, unless something happens in the Hulk title and or the Thor title to really grab me and hold on to me, and it happens soon, it's quite possible I will be dropping these titles. But for now, I find them very entertaining, probably even the Thor title even more than the Hulk title. So I am looking forward to picking up Thor issue number 27 this week. The next book I am pulling this week is Stillwater, issue number 15. The Stillwater series has been really, really good. It was kind of the series that sealed the deal on Chip Zdarsky for me. I heard about issue number 1. I was like, well, I don't know what the story is going to be here. I don't know if it's going to be very interesting to me, but I'm going to check it out anyways. And boy, was I engaged. I have really, really enjoyed it. It's been a very interesting story, and it's funny because the story is coming toward an end. This is issue number 15. I believe it's ending with issue number 18. But the world in the story is expanding as they're reaching the conclusion. I find that interesting. So I'm really excited about finding out where this is going to go. Every issue has been very entertaining to me. So I'm really looking forward to Stillwater, issue number 15. The next book I want to mention to you that I'm pulling is Grimm, issue number 5. Grimm is one of those books that when it first came out, I was like, they're obviously trying to get the Something is Killing the Children fans like me into this book. And so I went into it with a big old grain of salt, being like, I feel like I'm being marketed to, and I don't like that very much, but I was still going to try it. And I did try it, and I did like it. I find that I am invested in the main character's struggle. She's looking for answers, and she hasn't found very many of them yet. And the journey towards those answers is something that I'm interested in, and the stakes keep rising for the character. So it becomes more and more interesting. I'm really, really enjoying it. If you didn't pick up Grimm, it's I wouldn't say it's a must read. But I would say that if you were ever interested in it, it's not too late. It's only issue number 5. Don't let it being at issue number 5 be an excuse to not read it if you're truly interested in it. I think it's good. Is it the best thing out there? No. But I am enjoying it, and I do recommend trying it out. The next book I want to mention to you is that I'm buying this week is 8 Billion Genies, issue number 5. Now, those of you who have been watching my videos or just understand or paying attention at all to what is going on in comic books know that 8 Billion Genies has been a phenomenon. This little indie book about every human being on planet getting a genie that grants them one wish. Boy, this little book went from being something that people were like, I don't know about that, to just like everybody. It's like the biggest indie book that's come out in a long time. A lot of times these books have a lot of hype and then fizzle out. that might happen to 8 Billion Genies, but I started reading 8 Billion Genies because the premise sounded fascinating. I wanted to know what the writer Charles Soule's take was going to be on a world where everybody got one wish. What would happen? Chaos is what would happen, was my best guess, and Charles Soule definitely delivered on chaos. It's been really fun and really entertaining, and I've really enjoyed it. So I would say, like I was kind of mentioning with Grimm, going back and picking it up, and I'm like, but I wouldn't hardcore recommend it. I would recommend 8 Billion Genies. I think it's just been really entertaining, really fun, and a great comic book. So there's lots of additional prints of issues number 1 through 4, so you can definitely still find those. Or you can just wait for it to come out in trade. I believe it's an 8-issue limited series. So maybe once it's all done, you can just pick it up and read it all at once. But I do recommend checking it out. Okay. In the home stretch of sorts with the books that I will be buying this week, but there's still a handful left to go, and we are going to bin them all under a feature which I have not done in these videos in a very long time. It is the triumphant return of Tynan Time. Yes, Tynan Time makes its triumphant, as I just said, return to my Just One Book videos, because there's a lot of James Tynan IV books coming out this week. So let me get into it. First off, I'm going to be buying DC vs. Vampires issue number 9. I've mentioned this before. I did not want to read DC versus Vampires. I am not particularly a fan of vampires. Not that I have any problem with vampires. I just think that they're just overused, in my opinion. So I was just like, I don't want to read a vampire story. But then I picked this up, and it has been so good, so entertaining, so interesting to see what a vampire takeover to the DC universe would look like, especially in the hands of James Tynan IV. It has been very entertaining, and I am absolutely going to see it all the way through to the end, which is issue number 12. The next book that I'm going to be buying this weekend as part of Tynan Time is The Department of Truth issue number 21 from Image Comics. So The Department of Truth I like a lot. I have really, really enjoyed it. It's super heady and super dense, and I've had to reread pages before in order to fully absorb all the concepts that are coming my way. But I like that. But one thing that is kind of waning for me on the Department of Truth is that they're not really developing the narrative in a way that is keeping me truly engaged. I think a lot of people who were excited about the Department of Truth from the get-go have started to kind of drop the Department of Truth because of this. It's tough, man. Comic books are tough because they come out monthly, and so it feels like the narrative is moving so slowly because of the monthly nature of it, and also because sometimes these books take breaks. And the main narrative of the Department of Truth sometimes has been taking 2-issue breaks where they go back and tell different Department of Truth related stories. So the narrative seems to be developing very slowly, and that is a little bit difficult. So I'm genuinely hoping that something happens in the Department of Truth from the narrative standpoint that will get its hooks back in me, because I love it so much. I think it is so good, but I do understand why some people are kind of like, I just don't know about it anymore. The next book I'm going to mention as part of Tynan Time that I am buying this week is House of Slaughter, issue number 9 from Boom Studios. I love something that's killing the children, so House of Slaughter is very entertaining to me. I'm a little bit behind. I don't think I've read issue number 8 yet, but I like more stuff happening in the world of Something is Killing the Children. I think this second story arc from House of Slaughter has been, it's a very simple arc in a lot of ways, very focused on one character, but I've been enjoying it. I've been interested in what's going to happen to this one character. So, and I think the second arc has been slightly better than the first one, and so that's good. I'd like to see it continue to build in my own personal enjoyment. Because once again, I like the world of Something is Killing the Children a lot. I think there's a ton of opportunity to tell stories from this world, which is why I think it would make a great television show. Netflix, don't screw that up. Make that show, please. But House of Slaughter's good. I like James Tynion IV, even though this book is not technically written by James Tynion IV. It's written by Sam Johns, I believe, is their name. Yes. So, but it's part of his world, so it goes under Tynion time. All right, I'm trying to move forward through this. 2 more books. My final honorable mention that's part of Tynion time and in his book I'm going to be pulling this week is The Sandman Universe, Nightmare Country, issue number 6. Okay, so this one is another book that, I went into it not knowing anything about Sandman Universe. And just the story that's being presented here is really capturing my imagination. I wasn't sure that it would, but I don't know. James Tynion IV, just for me, has a knack for storytelling. He has a knack for keeping me engaged. He has a knack for stories that are creepy and kind of repulsive, like kind of push me away, but that also draw me in at the same time. And Sandman Universe Nightmare Country is the perfect example of it. I think I mentioned this before, that in issue number 5, it seems like the story is hitting its stride, or at least alluding to what the series is going to be. And I am definitely interested in checking that out. So I recommend this to Sandman fans, people who like creepy things, and people who are fans of James Tynion IV. But it's good, I like it, so I'm going to be picking it up this week. Now, finally, as part of Tynion Time, the one book that I would buy this week, my just one book pick for this week, if I could just buy one book, out of all these books I mentioned, the one book that I would buy this week is The Nice House on the Lake, issue number 10 from DC Black Label. Here's, I'm not going to read the description. I'm not going to read it. I was about to say here's the description, but I'm not going to read it. All I'm going to say is that I'm in a Nice House on the Lake Facebook group, and I saw a post the other day where people were basically just like, yeah, I gave up on this book a while back. Yeah, I just couldn't read it anymore. Yeah, it's too slow from a pace perspective. Yeah, I gave up on it because the breaks because they put out like 3 or 4, then they took like a 2 or 3 month break, and then they did that, took a 2 or 3 month break. It's a lot. As I mentioned before, the pace of comic books and the narratives through comic books is difficult. I understand why some people say, I just can't do the monthly titles. I just can't wait a month for each installment. I just wait and I buy the trade and I read the whole thing. Listen, I get it. I am a little also disappointed that they have been releasing The Nice House on the Lake the way that they have. I think that it is already kind of a slow burn of a narrative, and to take breaks for months seems it's hurting the title for me and hurting the narrative. I don't know why they don't just prepare 12 issues, have it written, drawn, complete, and then just put it out for 12 consecutive months and then call it a day. I assume that they needed these breaks in order to get caught up on the art or the writing or whatever. But why not just push back the release of the first issue until they're all ready to be put out? And then people like me and other fans can get their stories monthly. Basically, so far since I've told you that this is my pick, all I've done is tell you all the things that are wrong with The Nice House on the Lake. But there is one big thing that is good about it, and that is the story is just so interesting. It is so, like Sandman Universe Nightmare Country, it has a similar thing going on where I'm just like, I need answers. And the Department of Truth. There are so many questions. James Tynion IV is good at this. He lays out all of these questions that for some reason, the way he lays them out, I really need to know the answer to. And then he just kind of piece by piece gives us answers and also gives us new questions. And there's just something about The Nice House on the Lake, which, for those of you who don't know, is about a world that has been destroyed. And this small group of people have been spared death, and now they're trapped living on this big parcel of land, living in a house that's by a lake, and they don't know what's going on completely outside in the world, and they don't know what's going on inside of their own world. But the whole thing from the beginning has led us to the fact that there's tragedy that happens. Something that right now there's the group is being held together. Something is going to end that, and I'm very interested to see where that goes. So this is the one story out of all the stories that I'm buying this week that I'm like most voracious about sinking my teeth into and getting those answers. This is issue number 10. This series ends at issue number 12. So this is the first of the final 3 books in this series, and I'm just really excited to find out how this series ends. It's possible there's going to be more The Nice House on the Lake after issue 12 in some form, but this narrative, I assume, in some way will be wrapped up at issue number 12. So I'm really excited to find out what the beginning of the end is, and that's why The Nice House on the Lake issue number 10 is my Just One Book pick of the week. Oh my gosh, this video, it's probably 30 minutes long or something like that, because there was so much to talk about this week. I hope that it wasn't too chaotic. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I hope I didn't talk too quickly so that it's just a bunch of just throwing too much information at you all at once. But it's just one of those weeks, so sorry about that. If you like this content, likes are appreciated by me, so hit that like button if you would. If you haven't already subscribed, I invite you to do so if you're inclined to do so. Woo! Thank you so much, as always, for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one.